Hello everyone, welcome back to another data analytica video. And in today's video, I'll be taking you through the PySpark data transformation, and we'll be doing this in two parts. And for the first part, let me begin with creating a notebook in Databricks free edition. PySpark Data Transformation 1. Okay, and so in this video we will be having first, so let's get to the overview of this whole video. And for that, overview is going to be setup and configuration, and the next one is we'll create data frames, so we'll create manually. And the third one is going to be data inspection, so we'll inspect the data first, and then we will do the column selection, renaming and casting, then filtering and conditional logic, column expressions and functions, then complex columns like arrays, structs, maps, etc., and aggregations and groupBy, then the last section for this video is joins. So these are actually the 9 different things that we're going to see today. So let's start with or maybe another markdown with first we'll do setup, okay. So because we need to use PySpark, I'm going to get PySpark import Spark session. Then from PySpark.sql.functions import star, and then from PySpark.sql.types import all, and from PySpark.sql.window import window. And at the same time we'll create a new Spark session, so Spark session dot builder, dot app name will have PySpark data transformation, and then config. Okay, so we'll not do it for now. Get or create. Okay, okay. So setup and configuration, in this we imported all the different functions or window or the Spark session, etc. And then we also created a new Spark session using the Spark session builder. So now the next step that we talked about is creating data frames. Okay. So for now, we will have a sample data manually created. So data is the name of the data frame, and data is actually name of the list that we're going to use to create the data frame. And we'll have like we did it in other videos, so we'll have a, and then we'll have a region, and then 10, so which is actually value, and then another one for, let's say, sales, and then we'll have another field for date. Okay, so we'll have similar, let's say 6 or 7 columns, 6 or 7 rows. Okay, south, east, west, okay, and then we'll change value. Okay, and then we'll change the dates. Okay, so here we are, and let's change this decimal space place. Okay, and now the next thing that we're going to do is we need to define a schema for this. So for that, struct type, struct field, okay, field, and we'll have id, and id, sorry, it's not id, it's actually category, and then string type, okay, and after category it's a region and string type, and then we have value, and it's of integer type, and then sales, double type, and then date, string type. Okay, so we have now the data that we need to use to create the data frame, and let's create a data frame using create data frame, data, and use also the schema df.show. So it's still running. Okay, so great. If you look at this, we have a data frame now with category, region, value, sales, and date. And the next thing that we're going to do is inspecting data. Yes, data inspection. So we'll work on data inspection. So for inspecting data, so we can actually use print schema, and then we can have use describe. Then you can also show the summary summary.show and describe, and then we can actually show up to 5 rows. And then we can also, at times we need to use Pandas for because of the convenience, so we need to actually, let's try to do the conversion using the 2 Pandas, and let's see. Okay, so if you look at summary is not supported. Okay, there's a typo. Yeah, okay, so now if you look at the print schema, actually giving you the different columns and its type and whether it's nullable or not. And then we have describe, which actually gives you statistics, count, mean, standard deviation, min and max. And then we also have summary, which actually gives you a little more detail with percentiles 25, 50 and 75 and max, min also. And then we have it's showing all the first 5 rows, and it's actually a Panda data frame using the 2 Pandas. So while inspecting data, we can see that there is actually, so for one value, okay, count 7, mean null. Okay, for category and region it doesn't make sense. And then we have, okay, date. Okay, so now let's move on and let's do the next step, which is actually for select, sometimes rename and cast columns. Okay, so selecting a particular columns from the data frame is something that we have to do at times to check what are actually the values of the column, or so there can be multiple use cases. So this is actually an example how you can actually select a particular columns, and here df.select category, and then let's select a region and also sales. And let's show them, and also let's create a new or let's rename in column. So column renamed, with column renamed, and what we're going to do is we'll actually change the sales column to total sales, and then we'll show it. Okay, and then df with column, so we will actually cast column. So we have currently sales with the decimal spaces of 1. After decimal you have like 1 digit to show, and now we will change that to a 2 digit. Okay, so how to do that? We'll actually change sales, and then call of sales will get converted to cast. We will do the cast, and then we will have decimal, and then 10,2, and then we can also do the print schema to see whether it changed. Okay, Okay, yeah, because it's very case sensitive. So okay, super. So we'll see. So first we have actually like dot select category region sales, and it's showing all category region sales. So those are particular three columns from that data frame. And the next thing that we try to do is column renaming a column, and we try to rename the sales column to total sales. And as you can see here, it's actually showing fine. And the next thing that we tried to do was to change the sales type. So it was actually of type, if you look at the previous print schema, then we can see that it was actually double. But now also it's actually double, but the decimal spaces are now 2 instead of 1, and also we have specified how many digit spaces for the first before decimals or actually the actual number. Okay, so this is a way of how you can select, or you can rename, or you can cast those columns. So the next step that we are going to do is filtering and conditional logic. Okay, so when we need to filter some particular values, what we need to do is we need to use filter. And let's say there is a case when value column has values greater than 30, then we need to actually use those values. So how we can do is we can actually use the column value, and then let's put a condition where it's greater than 30, then use then show. And let's say if you need to actually filter from a string type column, let's say we have region here, and we will actually check whether the region is in north or east. So when region value is either north or east, then we will actually show it. So how to filter that? Filter. Okay, maybe I think it's better if I put a comment to show what it does. Filter when value column has numbers greater than 30. Okay, and what next thing that we're going to trying to do is filter when region value is either north or east. Call of, let's say, region, and here we can use is in. So is in, and then we can specify the values that we're going to check. So either north or east, and then we will actually show it. And another thing that we can try is, let's say this is something that we do very often in SQL. So this is like when the category value starts with A, or is it it's actually A, or A starts with A, then we can actually will filter it. So how to do it? When filter when category value starts with A. Okay, df dot filter call of category dot like a percentage, then show. Okay, and which looks fine. So the next thing that we're going to check is when conditional logic. So conditional logic, and we are applying a logic like we create a new column, segment, so segment will have values. So value is when value greater than 30, then it will be low, else when value less than 60 or greater than 30 and less than 60, then it's medium, else high. So this is what we're going to create. So we're going to create a new column, and for that with column we'll use, and we will specify the name of the column, which is actually segment. And the next thing that we're going to do is we'll actually use the logic. So using when, so there is this column value when it's less than 30, then we will give it value low. And the next thing is when call value less than 60, then it's medium, and otherwise it's going to be high. Dot show. So we'll try to show that case, and let's run it. Okay, so the first thing that we did was to filter when value was actually greater than 30, and here you can see that we have like all the values listed here which have value column numbers greater than 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And the next one was actually to filter when region has north or east, and here we can see that it all has north or east. And the third condition that we tried to check was actually, or the filtering that we did was to see when the category value starts with A, then we will actually show that. And here we have only one result, which is category A. Okay, and the last thing that we did was to have a conditional logic applied. So conditional logic is actually like you specify different conditions, like that is when it's less than 30, then it shows low. Okay, great. And when it's greater than 30 and less than 60, then it's medium. Okay, and when it's actually greater than 60 or greater than or equal to 60, then it's high. So the segment value shows exact as we defined, so it all works great. So this is how conditional logic can be applied while doing data transformation. Okay, and the next thing that we're going to check is column expressions and built-in functions. Okay, so we'll see an example. So what we're going to do is we'll actually these expressions are mainly used when we need to create some new columns, so we can actually use some expressions to define them. So let me show you an example. So I need to create a new column with value sales into 0.08. Okay, so how we can do that? We can actually define df is equal to df dot with column. Okay, and then we will write sales with tags, and then here we specify the expression. So here sales, column sales into 0.08. Okay, and the next, okay, so this is one example. And the next thing, likewise, when we need to, let's say we are actually using an expression to find out the tags applied. So that's going to be a new column, so which is actually, sorry, not tax applied but net sales. So that's going to be the total sales minus sales tax. So let's say let's say df is equal to df dot with column. Okay, and here we'll calculate net sales. So net sales is going to be, so we know that net sales is actually total sales minus sales tax. And how we are going to use or calculate is, we'll use expression or expr, and in this we will specify sales minus sales tax. So this is a way to do it, to calculate. Okay, so this is, I would say, in a way like SQL, where you specify sales minus sales tax. This is a way to do it using expression, and please check that you have actually put this double quotes. And this is not the only way to do it, so you can actually do similar way. Let's say, like, I will actually put this in yeah, df dot with column, and let's say net sales is going to be call of sales minus call of sales tax. So this is also another way to do it. Okay, we'll check the results later with both these options. So for now, what we did here, we created create a new column for net sales. Okay, so this is another one that we saw. And another thing that we're going to do is df, okay, sorry. Now let's try to create a new column by concatenating. So let's how to do that. I'll show you. Use concat to create new column. Okay, df is equal to df dot with column, and I'll create a new info field or info column where you have concat underscore ws, and inside you specify the delimiter that you would like to use to concat, and here I'm going to use a hyphen, and then call of category, and the next column that I'll be concatenating is region. Okay, we'll see the results later. And another thing, so one more thing that we're going to check is, let's say we'll use, because it specifies built-in functions, so that all the expression that we use, concat work ws underscore ws, also a built-in function. And another thing, another built-in function that we will use related to extract year. So let's say year from date. Okay, how to do that? We'll actually df dot with column, and here we will have a new column, a year, and then we will use year. This is a function, built-in function, and then to date. So to date, what it does is actually it will convert the date, the string field, to date, and here we will use a column date. Okay, and then we will extract the year from it. Now let's try to show all these different cases. Okay, so now we have everything included in this data frame df, and the first thing that we tried to do was sales tax. So to specify how much tax that has been actually added to this sales column, and here we have it calculated based on the expression that we gave, column sales into 0.08, and if you look at this 0.08, sorry, it's 200 into 0.08, which is 16. So 16 is actually the tax value added on sales. The next thing that we tried to do was actually to calculate net sales from sales and sales tax columns by just sales minus sales tax. And here if you look at this, 200 minus 16, 184, which is right, and like in all other cases. Okay, so like I mentioned before, so this is one way to do it, and another way I specified below, which is also standard way to do it. And let's check if we get this right if we use this expression. Okay, so it doesn't change, so it gives us the right value when we do it this way, or either this way or this way. Okay, so the next thing that we did was to actually do the concat. So when there are two string values, we can actually do the concat. Let's say like category and region, we concatenated using delimiter hyphen, and here you can see that it's actually came out correct. And then the next one was to extract year from date. So we have here year, YYY starting, and in our expression we first converted this date to YYY MMDD, and then later extracted year from it, which actually gives us the right value. So this is actually about column expressions and built-in functions that can be used while doing the data transformation. And the next thing that we're going to see is complex columns. So it can be arrays, structs, maps. Okay. So let's try to actually get a df complex. Okay, equal to df dot with column. Okay, and what we're going to do is we'll actually create a new column called tags, and here we will actually use the array, and we will have the literal value of retail, and then we will also use column region. Okay, then the next thing that we are going to check is meta. So for this meta we will actually use struct. Okay, meta, for this we will use the struct, and we will use call of value, and we will use call of sales. Okay, okay, dot with column, and here we will use maps. So how to show that? We'll have a new column mapping, create map is actually the function that we're going to use, and then lit, so we'll have category literal value, and then it actually mapping to the call of category. So we'll see how it looks, and then after that df complex dot show and truncate equal to false. Okay, so here we are, and we have call of sales, call of value, struct. Okay, so this is unnecessary. I added. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so this is complex columns, which is actually usually not the integer or the string type, as you see so before. And here you can actually create complex columns like arrays using the array function, and then you can specify what all values you will need in that array. And then you have like another struct type. So here I have specified column value and column sales, and you can see it here. And then we have a mapping. So maps value created, and like I mentioned here, it actually shows you inside that mapping like a category is which category it's actually mapped to, this particular row. So these are examples of creating complex columns in your data if it's required while doing data transformation. Okay, and so the next part is actually about aggregations and groupBy. Okay, so what we will do here is we'll actually group by region, and then we will calculate, or we will we'll do the aggregation to calculate count, average value, total sales, and then max sales. Okay, so how we can do that? We can actually like do the df dot group by. Okay, and then we will group by on region like I mentioned before, and then we will use aggregate. So count of star, so we will count the whole data frame, and then we will use alias count. Okay, and then we will have calculate average of value column, and then we will call it as average value. Okay, and then the next thing that we mentioned was say sum of sales dot alias of total sales. Okay, and max of sales dot alias of max sales. Okay, so and then we will finally order it by, so let's say descending of total sales. Now we will show. Okay, so here because we are actually grouping by region, and then we count the whole data frame, how many counts or how many occurrences of each region. And then the next thing that we found was average value, so we calculate the average value by on region level, and the same things total sales and then max value, and then we order it by total sales in descending order. So that's what we did, and this is how mainly, because aggregations and group by are actually very important while doing data transformations, and this is how it's performed using PySpark. Okay, so that was something that we already saw in other videos, like maybe not in PySpark but in Pandas or in Polars when we actually did videos, so it was quite familiar. And so let's move on and let's go to the next part, which is joins. Okay, so how we perform joins using PySpark while doing the data transformation. So here let me actually do it on sample or another sample data frame that we can create, and here you have region data, for example, and let's say north zone 1, and then okay, so we have north, south is going to be zone 2, and then east, which is zone 3, and then west, zone 4. Okay, and then region df is, let's create a data frame out of it. Create data frame, and we'll use region data, and then specify schema, which is actually region, and then zone. Okay, and now we will actually join this data, so the region df with df, in order to get the zone data. So how we can do that? We will actually do the inner join. So df dot join region df, and next thing is region, and specify. So while doing any type of join, whether it's a left or inner or anti-join, so any kind of join you need to specify it, and that's what I'm doing here. So specify it's at inner. Okay, and likewise while performing left join, df.join region df, and then region is the key. Okay, and specify it's going to be left join, and we will perform one more. Anti-join is going to be df. Okay, in anti-join, df.join region df, and then comes key region, and specify left anti. Okay, so now it's time. Let's check how it turned out. In a join.show, and then left join.show. Okay, and then anti-join dot show. Okay, here we didn't specify n. Okay, so here we are, and let's check the first inner join. So inner join, you can see that zone 1 here. It's because we have all the regions already in our data frame, and we get all values. So it's actually, I would say the left and inner join in this case are actually quite same, and left anti, because we have all values inside in the data frame, so it's giving nothing for this result. Okay, so that's about join, or how to perform when you need to do like join between two data frames, or a similar case, and specify the key, and also specify the kind of join that needs to be performed. Okay, how? Yeah. Okay, so I think that's about joins while doing data transformation on PySpark, and this is actually the with this we end this part of PySpark data transformation, and then we will actually come back. We'll do the next set of things that can be done in data transformation in the next part of the video. So till then, thank you, goodbye, and please let me know your comments in the comment section, and thank you for watching. Bye.